How's everybody doing? Good. Hi, guys. I'm Becca. I'm the Director of Brand Partnerships over at Teton Ridge. For those unfamiliar with Teton Ridge, we're the leading Western entertainment and sports media company. We most recently just acquired the Cowboy Channel, and for those of again, who are unfamiliar with the Cowboy Channel, I know Western sports is new to a lot in this room. Cowboy Channel is in 30 million homes across the U.S., through Dish TV, Comcast, DirecTV, all the other major linear providers. But what we provide on the Cowboy Channel is 600 rodeos per year. Some of the biggest rodeos, global presence, and then we also have hours of Western sports content. Among the events that we have, we're best known for the American Rodeo, which is coming up in April, down at Globe Life Field, which is where the Texas Rangers play. Really excited about this year's lineup. We have Bailey Zimmerman, Riley Green, and Ella Langley. Last year we had Post Malone and Luke Bryan. If any of you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in April, would love to host you. But yeah, all in all, I've been with Teton Ridge a little over a year now. What has been kind of mind-blowing for me is I entered this space because I was just blown away at seeing the way Western was on the rise. It was trending. I wanted to get in at the ground floor. But the one thing that I have learned in my time there is that Western is not a trend. It is something that has been around forever. It is the oldest sport in the United States, rodeo, and it's here to stay. It's just most recently been brought to everyone else. If you're interested in Western sports, if you're interested in the storytelling that we're doing across sports and all of the different personalities in this space, come grab me after. From there, Kamal, hi. I would love for you to introduce yourself, what you do over at Invisalign, and get us started there.
Awesome. Well, first I'll just say Becca and I met last week or the last 2 weeks, and we're already talking about Teton Ridge and trying to figure out how the Invisalign brand could potentially work with Becca and her team. So huge plug there. So my name is Kamal. I head up the marketing team over at Invisalign, hopefully a brand that everyone in this room knows and is familiar with. I've been on the Invisalign brand team for the last 11 and a half years, which has been such a joy to see this brand grow and be a part of the team and the community that has driven the rise of this brand.
Awesome. And, I loved chatting with you earlier this week to kind of line up what we wanted to talk about. And, one of the things that you mentioned was just the impact that Super Bowl has and just this being a big influential cultural moment. How did you guys identify, one, Super Bowl in the NFL as a marketing tactic for Invisalign? And then what can we expect to see from you this week?
So we're big believers. I'm a big believer that brands that integrate into culture and move at the speed of culture are brands that win in the marketplace and drive business growth, right? So when you take a step back and you think about where is culture happening, there is no larger stage in terms of a universal cultural moment than Super Bowl. And so our task became then, once we decided we wanted to be involved, how do you actually activate in a way that's meaningful and authentic? Because we don't want to just have a logo slap everywhere. So we have pretty deep relationships with the league. Part of our activation includes players actually using the product. So we have over 500 players across all 32 teams that have used Invisalign or are using Invisalign. And to answer the second part of your question in terms of what can you expect from us here this week, we are very much celebrating the stories of confidence on and off the field through the storytelling done by those players that we just talked about. So this morning we were with Jaden Daniels, who has had an amazing year, and we're over at Radio Row, so he very much shared his story out there from a press standpoint. Cam Jordan this afternoon held a clinic with some kids around flag football and just an overall way for us to celebrate what they do in the community, what he does in the community with kids. And then we have several events throughout the week. Tomorrow is our anchor event. We sponsor honors, and we've got several of our other talent who will be there as well, because it's not just the players that we activate with. We're also using this cultural moment, the largest stage there is out there, to celebrate and elevate the voices of women in the business of sports, so that we can really ensure that the role that women play throughout the entirety of the ecosystem is also seen. And so we'll have several of our talent like Deanna Flores there tomorrow, as well as Taylin Biggs, who at 11 years old is quite the broadcaster. And so we're giving her an opportunity on the red carpet to really showcase her skills as well.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, as two women working in sports marketing, I love hearing Invisalign's initiatives for highlighting women in sports. Would love for you to tell us a little bit more about those initiatives, what we can see in the year to come, other activations that you have coming up this weekend that maybe people can come check out and see.
Awesome. So when we think about women in sports, it really all comes back down to confidence. Confidence is the backbone of the Invisalign brand, always has been, right? So we're celebrating the stories of women who are at various stages in their career. And also, I always say it's not women in sports, it's women in the business of sports, right? And that includes everybody in this room as well. So there's a few ways that we're celebrating. I've already talked about Deanna, right? As a player and as an athlete, she is using Invisalign as well. And then we're also partnering up with Kristen Juszczyk, who hopefully everyone knows, so that we can also showcase the fashion side and the entrepreneurial business side of the house. And then we're also doing talks like this one at various events. We are sponsoring the Deep Blue Business of Women in Sports activation here on Saturday. If you all are not registered for that, definitely go check that out. And then several other events like Women Raising the Game. But our goal is very much to showcase the entirety of the ecosystem. But we do believe that that confidence and the need for an elevation in confidence doesn't just happen overnight. It's got to actually start really early, so that when you are a young kid, you can really see what you can be and the role that you can play, even if you're not the player yourself, right? And when you think about that confidence crisis that's going out with 50% of girls dropping out of sport by the age of 14, before the age of 14, not because of skill, but because of body confidence issues, like that's an issue we all have to take on, and we really believe that we've got a role to play in that.
That's awesome. And personally, I already let you know, I love the Kristen partnership because I have been dying for one of her Jalen Hurts puffers. I have missed it every time they go back in stock. So you touched on it a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing with youth sports and for young girls. Can you talk to us a bit more on your youth initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first and foremost, let's talk about why youth, right? The reality is most people think about the Invisalign brand as a brand for adults. And many people don't know that actually Invisalign also works for kids and also teens. And so a big part of our youth initiative is really to ensure that we're integrating our brand into youth culture, Gen Z, Gen Alpha culture, so that they too and their parents realize that Invisalign is a brand for them. But I touched on the confidence crisis that's going on, right? I tossed out one stat with the 50%. Here's another one. 55% of girls in the 5th and 6th grade in the US do not believe, they don't have the confidence that they can achieve whatever it is they want to achieve at that age, right? As a developed nation, that's a tragedy. And so a big reason why we are very much involved in the era of youth sports is to really showcase that the backbone of the Invisalign brand is all around confidence, and to help lift that confidence up in those kids. Because when you think about it functionally, Invisalign versus braces both work really well, right? Both have different benefits to them, but really functionally both work equally well. It's the emotional side with Invisalign and that lift in confidence that occurs, and we want to make sure that we really help educate the public that there is an option for them, while still making sure that we're doing some good in the world and trying to lift up that confidence in young kids.
That's amazing. And yeah, I love hearing all of your initiatives there. I know we talked about the major crossovers, especially with Teton Ridge, with everything we do with youth and females in the sport. It actually is huge. Most barrel racers are females, and it's a huge part of our business as well. As far as other key initiatives outside of Super Bowl, what can we expect from Invisalign this year? What's new? Where else will you guys be showing up?
So I'll highlight one major area on the backs of this youth conversation.
Yeah.
We very much want to ensure that we are showing up in youth culture. So we're activating for the third year in a row with Overtime. If you guys don't know the Overtime crew, definitely check them out. They are at the heart of what I would call youth culture is. So we're partnering up with OT7 again, the high school boys football, and several of the players use Invisalign as well. Then we started Team Invisalign last year with 7 elite high school girl athletes. And so we've got 4 basketball players, 3 soccer players from around the country, and we're going to be building and expanding that team. Jazzy Davidson from the basketball side is there, and so you'll see us in the marketplace really at their events, at their tournaments, as well as through social content, activating to ensure that people really understand through this authentic storytelling, because every single person that we work with, whether you're in high school athlete all the way to pro, uses Invisalign, and it's that authentic storytelling that really brings the confidence piece to life in a way that is much better than I could tell you guys.
It's awesome. And is there anything else you want to touch on? I want to leave a little bit of time for everybody to ask some questions. Is there anything else on the horizon for Invisalign, or do we want to kind of open to the crowd?
I'm good with opening it up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Any questions? Yeah.
First, as a mom of 15 daughters and a very supportive younger brother, thank you. What you do really matters, so thank you so much. I guess this is the last panel, but helping your perspective as a marketer, what are you most excited about?
So I'm really excited about community and all the community that is being built here every single day throughout the week. I'm a big believer in community, and community is where the magic happens, and it's through the connections like this, because business isn't about sitting in an office and having the academic exercise only. There's place for that for sure, but business is really so much, and marketing is so much about your gut. I always say marketing is a combination of data, intuition, and judgment. Right? There's no amount of data that's going to replace the intuition that you can get. And I think it's through conversations like this one. Becca and I never would have met. Right? We never would have met. We never would have had the conversation about her brand, where 15 minutes in, I go, I didn't think of that. We should definitely talk and think about how we might be able to connect in with the community that otherwise wouldn't even have been on my radar. It's a great question.
Any others? Yeah.
First off, I am an Invisalign user.
Yay.
I love this.
Thank you.
My question is, when you're looking at partnering with the NFL, what metrics of success are you looking at? Like, how are you saying, okay, yeah, we moved the dial and this is exactly what we wanted it to do?
Yeah, so great question, and obviously one that we think about all the time and have a conversation with all of our partners and sponsors. So on the NFL side, first, it's really ensuring that we have the reach. We have the reach to reach the audiences that we want to reach. And so if you rewind a few years ago, when you think about this whole conversation around women in sports, that wasn't a conversation that was happening in this moment, right? And so it was a place that we worked with the NFL to say, you've got this huge fan base where 50% of fans are women. How do we connect in with that fan base? Because we knew that what we were doing at the time wasn't connecting in. And so I think there's a lot of co-creation in terms of the how. The second is, how do you know it's actually working? Consumers will tell you. You know, we go where the consumers are. We know pretty quickly when we've got a piece of social content that's really resonating because you can see it in the metrics. And then conversely, we also know when we do something and the metrics will show it and it's not working. And then it's about really ensuring that you have the honest and transparent conversations with all of our partners to say, NFL included, like, we've got to co-create this together so that we're dialing up what is working and dialing down what is not working, to really just make the partnership stronger. When you do that, I think both parties win.
Awesome. Yeah.
You touched a little bit on the talent marketing and more the influencer. How are you reaching that Gen X, Gen Alpha generation where they're rising on social media, say TikTok? Talk to us a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah, so to Gen X and Gen Alpha. Okay, so Gen Alpha, very much going where they are. I'll tell you the surprise with Gen Alpha in comparison to Gen Z is that there's a lot of anti-social media sentiment with Gen Alpha, right? And so we've got to accept that and also change our tactics. Where they are really leaning in is on YouTube. They see YouTube as an educational platform. That's their go-to. So we partner really closely with the YouTube team to ensure that we've got content there for Gen Alpha. The other thing that I'll just share is that we also have a teen advisory board that we created to really ensure that we've got a finger on the pulse of what's happening with that generation, because let's be clear, I am far from that. But the teens will tell us straight up, this is great, that sucks, don't do that, but do more of this. And then on the Gen X side, right, the Gen X side is really interesting. We've got two books of business, a teen business and an adult business. On the adult side, what we're really finding is that Gen Xer is at a stage in his or her life where they are ready to invest in themselves. And they are saying, hey, I've spent all this time taking care of everyone else, but now it's time for me. And so we're showcasing a lot in our talent. We're working with talent who is from Gen X so that they can do that authentic storytelling as well. But for us, it really comes down to the talent being connected into the community. And sometimes it's talent that's big names like Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Got to bring them up. And sometimes
Go Birds.
Sometimes it's talent that's the everyday person, right? Because we really want to make sure that when we show up in the marketplace, people see themselves as a part of the Invisalign brand. And so it's playing on both ends of that.
Awesome. Any other questions? How are we doing on time? Good? No? Paige?
We're doing good.
Yeah, good. Any other questions, guys?
Can we hear more about the
Yeah.
11-year-old broadcaster?
Yes, so Taylin Biggs. Taylin is amazing. So she's 11. She's done Grammys. She's going to do the Oscars probably. She is from Florida. Just decided one day, like, hey, Mom, this is what I want to do. And her mom said, great, let's go for it. And she has been out with the Chiefs, right? On the football field, doing content. She's amazing. And it's such a big part of our story as a brand is to really, again, create access for young people in the ways that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to be on a stage like this. Last year, we had a 11-year-old girl from Wisconsin who basically said, hey, I want to be a broadcaster. We said, great, come on over. And she, let me tell you, I went over to her mom and I said, hey, if she ever wants a job, she's hired. But it comes back to that confidence, really finding ways for us as a brand to elevate confidence in young kids.
Well, the activations you're doing this week, how are you going to amplify it next week? What happens when you get back to the home office, taking it to the next level and building upon it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we really think about 360 activations and amplifying across all aspects of media. So you'll see it all across social, right? So we're shooting content while we're here on the ground, both to showcase the real-time content in terms of what's happening here on the ground, but then we're also capturing content that will put out into the marketplace later. It just happens to be shot here. And then there's a ton of earned media that we have planned as well. So there's a lot of talent that we are launching here at Super Bowl and using this moment, Deanna Flores being one of them, Jade Talon Biggs being the other one. And I think that what you'll see from us throughout the year is you'll see their stories unfold throughout the year that started here at Super Bowl, but it's not done at Super Bowl. It's really then going to be that storytelling throughout the year, both at a local level, but also at a national level. Yeah.
I'd love to know why you picked Jalen Daniels as far as your brand ambassador. See, I have a personal connection with him because my niece and nephew, his cousin, raised them with a nanny for 13 years. And our family invested in when he was in Pop Warner football. Then he became an Arizona State quarterback where I went to college. And he was so skinny and thin, and nobody thought he would make it. And he went his last year to LSU and obviously won that championship, and he turned around the Commanders. It's been just a reason forever, but I don't know what big game.
Yeah, so first of all, great background and great story. When we take a look at who we want on our Invisalign Smile Squad, we call it, we really think about the alignment with brand values, right? First and foremost, I think that's really important. And then secondly is there a desire with the player to want to work with us? And with Jaden, I mean, what's not to like about Jaden, and the story you just told, I think, is the story, right? He was the underdog for so many years and so many reasons. And let's be clear, we as a brand have been the underdog as well. Right? For years, we were the underdog. We're a challenger brand. And so once we got to know his story, once we got to know him, he is such a great guy, such a gem, right? It was a natural connection. Natural connection. He's great with media. He's great with the storytelling, but it was just that authenticity that I think he brings. And I know that word is used so much, but you can really tell from talent when they have the authenticity. And then in some instances, that's not always there.
Incredible workout.
Oh, I mean, what he's done, so much to be proud of.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yeah.
So with today being National Girls and Women's in Sports Day, I was just curious, what areas in women's sports excite you to grow your marketing arm of Invisalign? Anything on the horizon coming up, or where do you see you guys navigating this?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I think women's soccer is just waiting to have its moment and explode in the same way that women's basketball has now arrived, if you will. I think women's soccer is where women's basketball was 5 years ago. So we are very much leaning into women's soccer as well. We're partners with Bay FC, the local Bay Area, which is where our headquarters is at, or one of our largest offices. But I think that we go where the young girls are, right? In the sports that they want to be involved with. So both on the soccer side, basketball, high school basketball is huge. And then I'd say also cheer and dance. I mean, there's an entire world around and community around cheer and dance that when you think about that confidence value and that benefit that we'll really be leaning into. But overall, our mantra is always go where your audience is, right? Don't try to get them to come to you. We've got to go to them and integrate into their world and hopefully earn the right to be a part of their life or their smile.
Yeah, rodeo, I hope.
We're getting the cue. Well, thank you guys very
all right.
much. Appreciate the time.